Hello, and welcome to Strength Over Weakness. Today I'm going to do something just a little bit different. I usually give you something that is, faith building and very encouraging, and this is a good one too, but it's in a different area. I want to talk to you today about distractions. And I'm going to talk to you about good distractions, things that are good that we're distracted by. And because it's very important to make sure that God is always number one in our lives and that we don't find ourselves drifted out somewhere and can't wonder, we're wondering where God is, where He's still in the same place and we kind of moved. But in Luke chapter 40, Martha heard Jesus was in town and she went and she found him and she invited him to her house. And I can really identify with Martha. Uh, she invited Jesus and she decided to do, if she's anything like me, and I'm sure she is, just by reading this story. When you go home first, and the house has to be, sparkly clean, and then you have to kind of redo the decor a little bit, decorate it just a little bit better than it was, and then you want to have something to eat, so it can't be just dinner. I mean, you gotta have hors d'oeuvres, and that has to be special because that's the first thing they eat, and then you have to have at least one really great thing in the meal, and then you have dessert, and of course, you have your drink. Well, you have to cut the lemon or whatever. I mean, you have to have decorate the cup. I mean, decorate the table. Everything has to be just right, just perfect. Notice that Jesus didn't ask for any of this, but Martha wanted to do that for him. So Jesus comes and Martha's in there and she's trying to get everything ready, and her sister Mary is at the table, not at the table, but sitting where Jesus is, and she's just soaking up all this good stuff that Jesus is talking about, and she's just being so encouraged by the miracles that Jesus is talking about that he's done. I went through this area and that area, and we saw this miracle happen and that miracle happen, and Mary's kind of ticked because she's in there thinking, I'm in here doing all this work, and she in there sitting listening to all this good stuff, and it's just not fair. So she meditated on that a little bit, and then she went on in there and said, Jesus, I don't really think it's fair that I should be in here, doing all the work. I mean, she should be in here with me. I mean, don't you think you ought to say something to her? Because I'm doing all the work. And so Jesus looked at her and he says, Martha, you're worried about a lot of things that you don't need to be worried about. Mary's chosen the better thing. And, I thought about that. And at first I really didn't understand that. But then being the person I am, I do understand it. You see, Martha didn't have to do all that stuff. She still could have had Jesus over and maybe just had dessert and coffee, something like that. I mean, she didn't have to have all that other stuff. She brought all that upon herself. And there are many things that are good things. We're doing a good thing. But in doing the good thing, we are leaving God out of the picture. Therefore, He's not number one. It's our program or our thing that we're doing. And we tend to drift. Um, I want to look at my notes a little bit because I don't want to miss anything. But as we're talking today about distractions can come in a good and deceptible way. Deceptive way. Sorry about that. I don't think deceptible is a word, but deceptive way. Um, let's look at it this way. You want to know, is this thing that I'm doing, is it a distraction? It's a good thing. Is it a distraction? And my answer to your question is this: if it, she, or he takes you away from your relationship with God, takes you away from prayer, Bible study, and I'm talking about on a regular basis, prayer, Bible study, um, your Christian friends, you know, things that help develop you in God. If what you're doing is taking your family, if it's taking you away from those things, then it's a distraction. Okay. So I'm distracted. What do I do? For me, one of the things that can become a real distraction and has, and it's something that I have to work at on a continual basis, is my job. I have a job, um, and I work. I get up in the morning, I go to work, I get home, I eat, I take a nap, and I go right back to work. Not at work, but at home. Pull it up on the computer and I start working. So I can do this on a day after day basis, and it really becomes a distraction. It's a distraction in my relationship with God, and it's a distraction with my family. And how it's a distraction in those areas is, I don't have time to spend time with my family because I'm either working or I'm doing my game, Words with Friends, thank you. And so I don't have time for my family. I'm always doing those two things. So that's a distraction. Now, do I have to come home and work? No. I choose to because I don't like feeling overwhelmed. And I feel like if I do it at home, I don't have to worry about feeling uncomfortable, overwhelmed. So, what do I do to get out of that? I mean, how do I still do work and play my game and still have time for God and my family? So, I'm going to tell you how to do it. The first thing you want to do, because mine is work, but yours can be something else. It can be a girlfriend, a boyfriend, it could be college, it could be so many different things. But I'm just telling you about me. Okay, the first thing you do is you reevaluate. Is this thing really important? Is this thing a distraction? Is this thing something that I have to do? Or is it something that I want to do? Does it have to be done to this great degree? I mean, can we just have cake and coffee? Or do I really need to do all the rest of it? So once I determine if how important this thing is, then I decide if I need to repent or not. Because if I've neglected God and I've neglected my family, I need to repent for that. Once you say I'm sorry, the next thing you have to do is you have to turn from it. The best way to describe that is if we're driving down the street and we're looking for a particular street, and you look and you go, oh, that's my street, but you passed it up, you don't keep going, even though you know your street's back there. You don't keep going. What do? You turn around and you go back to the street you're supposed to be on. And it's the same way. If you find yourself off track, you turn around and go the opposite way. There are a lot of families, so many divorces. I mean, so many. And they say, well, we're out of touch with each other now, and we fell out of love, and you hear all irreconcilable differences. And really, in the beginning of your problem, if you'll sit and you'll evaluate and see where you got off track, you can turn and get back on and continue to grow. And you'll have to do that a lot of times in marriage, no matter how long you've been married. For instance, say you're married maybe a couple of months and maybe 4 or 5 months, and you decide that it's not clicking. It's just not clicking. And so you start to evaluate and you start thinking, where did it go wrong? So our natural thing is to look at that other person and see where they went wrong, you know, what they are doing that is not right, where they're falling short. But just stop and think about yourself. When we first got married, what are some of the things I used to do that I don't do anymore? Well, maybe one of those things is that you used to, when your husband would come home from work, you were home and dinner was ready and on the table for him. And now he comes home and you're sitting up in front of the TV eating your own food, and he's saying, "Where's dinner?" And you're like, "You didn't pick none up?" It's those little things like that that really develop your relationship in the opposite direction than it should be. So when you start thinking about those things, all you need to do is turn around, go back to where you got off, and get back on the right road. Am I saying you have to do this? Well, that's not my situation. That may not be your situation. But what is your situation? Reevaluate and go back and get on the right road. All right. So, is it absolutely necessary, this thing that I'm doing? Is it absolutely necessary? If it's not necessary, cut it out. In other words, if it's not necessary to make the entire meal and hors d'oeuvres and all that, cut it out. That's not the most important thing about this visit. So you don't need to do that. Okay? If it's necessary and it's something you really want to do, then allot the proper time for it. I don't have time to, spick and span the house, um, redecorate, make hors d'oeuvres, make the dinner, make the dessert, decorate the table, decorate the glasses. I don't have time to do all that, but I do have time to maybe spick and span the house, make hors d'oeuvres and something to drink, or just make the main meal and something to drink. You know, allot proper time so that you can still have time to fellowship in if that's your case. I just want to say that the most important thing is to recognize where you are distracted as it pertains to your relationship with Jesus Christ. If you're watching too much TV and you're staying up late, you don't have time to get up and pray and start your day with the Lord, then that's a distraction. Cut some of that TV out so that you can go to bed at a proper time and get up and have devotions. I'm going to tell you one more good distraction I had. This kind of caught me actually by surprise. I found this new app, and it was a Bible study app and a devotional app. And so it had like tons of different devotionals on it that you can choose, the working woman and, you know, um, feasting with Christ and, just all different marriage. And it just had all these different subjects. And so I started one and that was good. And I started another one. Then next thing you know, I had like 4 different ones going. And plus my Bible studies, personal Bible studies that I was having. So next thing you know, I was overwhelmed because I didn't want to miss any days, because, it has the date and, you're supposed to do that devotion on that date. So I was trying to juggle this thing with my whole life. And next thing you know, it became a burden. It was a real burden for me to do these devotionals because I didn't want to get behind. So I realized that something that was a good thing had now become a distraction. So what did I have to do? I had to cut some of it away and say, okay, I'll do this one and I'll do this one. So I cut 2 of them out. And so I still have my Bible study and 2 devotionals. And then that was it. And I found my peace. I got my peace back. I can enjoy my devotional time with the Lord. I could grow in God and not be distracted by, oh my gosh, I'm 3 behind, I'm 4 behind, I'm 5 behind, I'll never catch up. Some things we bring upon ourselves, and it's not necessary. If it's not necessary and it's a distraction, cut it out. If it is a necessary thing, allot proper time so that you have your time with God and you have your time with your family. Thank you for joining me today on Strength Over Weakness. Have a blessed day. Have a